What's up, YouTube? My name is Caden and you're watching Gas It Garage. Today we are doing part 3 of the world's weirdest mini bike project. Alright guys, so in the last video of this project, we got the seat mounted, the steering wheel mounted, the kickstand mounted, and the rear wheel, tire, and sprocket all mounted onto this mini bike. Now in today's video, I would like to get the wheel and sprocket alignment back here all figured out because the sprocket is very close to the frame and it's not going to allow the chain to go all the way up to the engine without hitting the frame. So I need to get that fixed and make sure everything's clearanced properly. And then I'd also like to get the engine mounted and the chain on, as well as the throttle pedal and brake pedal along with the actual brake. And then another thing I realized that I probably need to do is reinforce the seat mount, because I'd like to put a couple of braces from this corner and that corner down to about right here on the frame, just to make the seat a little bit stronger and not have any play in it. And then up under there, those are pretty flimsy, and last time I sat on this thing, I noticed the frame was flexing quite a lot right there, so I'm also going to reinforce that up in there. So for right now, let's go ahead and get started on clearancing this sprocket hub to get the sprocket to align with the engine properly. Alright, so now that I moved the sprocket over a little bit so it'll clear the frame, now we can mount the engine. right, so I've got the engine mounted and I also got the clutch bolted on, and the chain alignment I'd say is pretty good. Now I did find an issue right here with the spark plug wire. I can't connect it to the spark plug because of this bar in the way right here. So what I'm gonna do instead of modifying this frame anymore is just cut this big plug end off and put a like a little clip thing on here to attach to the spark plug. And then I also put a reinforcement right there for the seat mount so the frame shouldn't flex anymore. So after I fix this wire right here, then we can move on to mounting the fender, putting the air filter back on, and building the gas and brake pedals right here. All right, guys, so the brake pedal and the throttle pedal on this mini bike are completely done. Now, they are heel pedals instead of a pedal that you would hit with your toe, which makes them a little bit awkward to use, but they do work pretty well, actually. So what I used for the throttle is actually the original choke lever that came from the factory on the Predator 670 that's on the Earth Dog over there, but I took it off since I made that choke control, and I had just kept it in the cabinet here in case I ever needed it for a project, and it came in handy for this specific one. And even though it is a little bit awkward to use, it does work pretty well. So that's the throttle. Now the brake is kind of an interesting setup here. You have this brake band that goes around the clutch almost like a brake drum, and this is actually the same kind of design that I used for the 80cc GoPed, and it actually works pretty well. I'll throw a picture of that in here real quick. So as you can see, they are very, very similar in design. You have your anchor point down here, and then you have the end of the pedal pushing on it like this, which squeezes the brake band around the drum. And the way it works is when the clutch slows down, since the chain is connected to the rear wheel, if this slows down, that slows down, which slows down the mini bike. Now the only difference is that I actually anchored this side of the pedal, so it's a lot more rigid, although there still is quite a lot of play in it. So I'm going to add a brace right here with some little tabs coming out to hold this so it won't wiggle all over the place. And the only drawback about this type of braking mechanism is that if you lose your chain, you lose brakes, which is a little bit sketchy. But the way I'm going to make the chain tensioner, it shouldn't break. So after I make that little brace, I'm going to come back here and build a header on this thing, because that muffler right there, it's kind of stupid and ugly, and it doesn't really do a whole lot. And I want to make this thing look cool. So I'm going to build a header that comes from there, goes through here, and either out the back or kind of pointing down out to the side. I still have to kind of make a decision on what I want to do with that. So for right now, let's make the brace to hold that brake band in place, and then I will make the header. All right, I'm gonna paint this header with some high heat paint instantly. All right, now let's mount this thing back on the mini bike. let's start this thing up and see how it sounds. Little backfire. This thing sounds good. Probably gonna have to fix this though. A little annoying. I'll fix that later. But it runs and everything works on it other than this pole starter now. But that's gonna have to be it for this video, guys, because I am out of time to film. I have to post tomorrow. So that's all we can do for this video. So thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment. And I will see you in part 4, where we should be putting the chain on, building a chain tensioner, and taking this thing for a ride. I'm really eager to see how this thing's going to perform and how it's going to ride, especially with this steering wheel on here. I've never ridden any mini bike like this with a steering wheel on it, so it should be interesting. Hopefully I don't die. So I'll see you in the next video. Thank you for watching.